Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, entitled Aunt Freaks Out When I Get a Purple Cast for My Broken Arm. After that, don't want to do your chores, son? Have fun being stuck at home. And after that, can you help with my car? Sir, this is a Target. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets her head shaved. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And join as a channel member today, and I'll give you a special shout out in our next video. Entitled Aunt Freaks Out When I Get a Purple Cast for My Broken Arm. I broke my arm when I was around 10. Myself and a group of friends had been playing at the swing park, and I fell off the climbing frame. The first thing I felt was an immense pain in my arm. It was so bad that I actually felt sick from the pain. My friends, understandably, freaked out and ran off in search of an adult, while a couple of them stayed with me in case my arm fell off while they were gone. This is a terrifying situation when you're 10. Eventually, my friends came back with one of their dads. He quickly checked my arm over and was around 80% sure that it was broken. He offered to drive me home and would tell me jokes in an attempt to cheer me up. He succeeded in making my friend cringe at his dad's jokes, and I felt myself relax a little. I was still in immense pain, but I wasn't worried about my arm falling off anymore. Eventually, we got to my house, and my friend's dad explained to my mom what happened. He's such a great guy. He even offered to take my mom and I to the hospital. My mom politely declined because the guy had to go to his work, and she didn't want him getting in trouble. Once he had left, my mom asked me all the usual worried parent questions. What happened? Where does it hurt? Do you feel sick? Etc. She then called my nice aunt to see if she could drop us off at the hospital. She was working though, and even though she told my mom she was leaving work ASAP, she would take about an hour and a half to get to our house because of how far away her work was. That left only one option, entitled Aunt. Surprisingly, she did actually seem somewhat worried when my mom told her what had happened, and she got to our house within 15 minutes. Entitled Cousin was staying with her dad overnight, so she didn't come with us. Heck, she even brought my sweets to cheer me up. It honestly felt like I was in an episode of The Twilight Zone. Everything is going about as well as it could, with my arm in a massive amount of pain. We get to the hospital, give the hospital all the required information, and head to the waiting room for what we expected to be a very long wait. The hospital is very busy. My mom takes me towards the kids' waiting area so I could play with the toys whilst I waited, entitled Aunt following behind. I settled for playing with one of the plastic trucks so that I didn't have to move my broken arm. Everything was fine until a girl, around 6 or 7, asked me if I wanted to play kitchens with her, which I immediately said yes to. She set out some plastic cups for a tea party, and we played quite happily. Until entitled Aunt decides to intervene like the interfering jerk that she is. Entitled Aunt, what are you doing, sweetheart? Me, playing kitchens with Sarah. I don't know, just figured she needed a name. Entitled Aunt, I thought you were playing with the trucks. Why don't you go get one of them? They're so cool. Me, but me and Sarah are playing. OP, boys don't play kitchens. That's for girls. Me, but Uncle, my mom's brother, is a cook and he's a boy. But you don't want to be a person like him, do you? Mom, entitled Aunt, he's playing with that girl. Leave him alone. You don't think it's weird? Mom, getting pretty impatient. No, I don't. Now either leave them alone or you can head home. Entitled Aunt rolled her eyes at the pet name. My mom, even now, likes using pet names for me. She has a lot of anxiety around making sure that I know she loves me and cares about me, but she went back to my mom and sat down. Sarah and I talked and played for a bit. She asked me about my arm and I told her what happened. I found out through our talks that she had gotten her ears pierced, but the company hadn't cleaned the equipment properly, which had led to her right ear becoming infected. Despite her mother cleaning it thoroughly every day, she went on to tell me that she was going to get the earring taken out, and once she felt better, her mom would take her to get her ears re-pierced at a different establishment. Despite the hassle she was going through at that point in time, Sarah was pretty proud of her ear piercings, which in turn made me think about getting my own ears pierced. I had run over to my mom to ask about maybe getting my own ears pierced with the money that I had saved up. I got pocket money for helping around the house and always liked to save it for things that I really wanted, or for my mom's birthday, or Christmas presents. Entitled Aunt scoffed. and made faces of disgust. As my mom would say, she looked like a dog chewing a wasp, but she didn't vocalize any of her concerns. After about an hour, I was called up to get x-rayed. I said my goodbyes to Sarah and headed to the x-ray room with my mom. I'll skip all of the boring stuff. Basically, I got my arm x-rayed. It was definitely broken, and we were taken to a little room. There were about 4 beds in the room, each with a curtain for privacy, where we were to wait for one of the nurses to arrive and sort out a cast for my arm. Entitled Aunt had been allowed to join us at this point, as the hospital only allowed one adult to accompany their kid to the x-ray room. Never really understood why. She was still pretty upset about my mom getting impatient with her earlier, so obviously she dropped the nice demeanor and pet names and went back to her typical jerk self. She kept her mouth shut for the most part until the nurse decided to ask the question that would make Entitled Mom lose her crap. Nurse: "What color of cast would you like, sweetie?" Entitled Aunt: "He likes the blue. It's the same color as his top." Nurse: "Is the blue one okay for you?" She asks me this with a look that tells me, you don't have to go with the color that this psycho wants. Me: "I like the purple one." Entitled Aunt just glares at me. Nurse: "Okay, honey, a purple cast it is." Entitled Aunt: "What? You're actually going to give him a purple cast?" Nurse: "Well, that's what he wants." Mom: "Entitled Aunt, give it a rest. It's a dang color." Entitled Aunt: "So? It's purple. Boys wear blue, not purple." Mom: "It's not like you're the one who has to wear it. Stop being a drama queen." Entitled Aunt: "You're loving this, aren't you? You want him to be like this. You're encouraging this kind of behavior." Mom, looking like she wants to throw hands: "I want my kid to be happy. If a purple cast is going to make him happy, then he's getting a purple cast." "Boys shouldn't be wearing purple. He's getting the blue one. It's almost the same as purple anyways." Me: "But if blue's the same as purple, can't I just have purple?" "Are you a girl?" "No, but I like purple." Mom: "OP isn't your kid, and I'm not having you make him feel like crap for liking a certain color." At this point, the nurse is trying to defuse the situation, and I can only look on in shock. They argued for a couple of minutes more until the nurse managed to get a hold of a doctor and another nurse, who quickly asked Entitled Aunt to leave the premises. She did, but not without getting the last word in by shouting, "You're a terrible mother, wanting your son to be like this." My mom proceeded to apologize to the doctor and nurses for stooping to Entitled Aunt's level. They told her it wasn't an issue and that Entitled Aunt was out of line. Entitled Aunt had naturally drove off and left us at the hospital for another half hour until Nice Aunt came to pick us up. She had stopped off at KFC, my favorite fast food place as a kid, to get us something to eat and had gotten me a teddy bear at Toy Shop in town. It was bright purple. Nice Aunt was quick to post a picture of the 3 of us and the new teddy bear on Facebook, knowing full well that Entitled Aunt would see it just to upset her a little bit more. Entitled Aunt actually blocked both my mom and Nice Aunt on Facebook after this incident, and we had no contact with her for about 2.5 years. She eventually got in contact with my mom and sent her a massive apology through text and told her how she just wanted to be a family again. Jerk, you cut contact with us. All we did was enjoy the peace and quiet. Anyways, turns out that she was moving house, and since she barely has any friends or family that actually like her, she was using us to help her move because paying someone to help is too expensive when I have family to help me. Also, if anyone is wondering about why my mom let her back in her life, Entitled Aunt was a pretty religious person, and my mom just believed that was why she was like this. Of course, neither of us believe that all religious people are like that. We have many Christian, etc. friends, and they're all wonderful people. Needless to say, no one else had an issue with my cast. Some of the kids at school playfully teased me about it, but it wasn't malicious, and they were just more excited to sign my cast. Breaking your arm in school apparently makes you pretty popular when you're 10. Anyways, that was a little story about my psycho aunt. Sorry if it's all over the place and not very well written. I'm hyped up on coffee and am attempting to type on my laptop with fake nails. I hope y'all are having a fabulous day. Have you ever broken an arm or a leg or had to get stitches? Please let me know. Don't want to do your chores, son? Have fun being stuck at home. Backstory. After I had graduated from high school and still hadn't found my calling, my parents told me I could live with them rent-free as long as I did one very important thing: helped out with the chores. don't bring any girls or friends home after 9 p.m., and occasionally offer to help with the groceries for the week. The lead up. It had been about 3 months, and for the most part, I was adhering to the second and third rule I was given. That all changed when I met my first lady friend. We'll call her Roxy, cause she was a pretty bad chick. Now Roxy was a super bad influence on me, and she started getting me to stay out late, spend most of my paychecks on getting us booze and such. I started slipping down a wormhole to which I almost wouldn't have returned from. My dad from time to time would remind me, "Hey son, you need to make sure you're helping with the chores, and mind throwing $50 towards groceries this week?" Kinda reminders. That all changed after 3 months of being out of school and about a month and a half total of me knowing Roxy. We had come home from a concert in another city. For anyone who's my almost old fart age, it was a concert for Papa Roach, and she told me that she was too tired to go home and she wanted to crash with me at my parents' home. The time, 2:30 a.m. We pulled up to the driveway and I told her to be quiet. Of course she wasn't, cause it was Roxy. Soon as we step inside the house and I've just locked the door, she starts screaming the chorus line from Twisted Sister's "We're Not Gonna Take It" at the top of her lungs. Like clockwork, my parents' light comes on and my dad comes out of his room like a cheetah. A cheetah, I tell you. He sees us both and looks back in his room. Turning his head around, he goes, "Take her home, now." I immediately turn around and take Roxy home. She's all upset and tells me I should stand up to my old man, yada yada yada. Soon as we get her home, I know I can't go home, so I stay at her apartment with her. The next morning, there's a text on my phone. "Come home at your earliest convenience. Love, Dad." I know I'm dead because A, my dad never texts me, and B, if he does text me, he's more of a John Madden play-by-play kind of guy. What I mean is, he's going to give you a paragraph of words for what could have been a single sentence or two. I kiss Roxy goodbye for what I'm sure is the last time I'll see another human being and head home. When I get home, he's sitting at the table with a pen and a piece of paper in front of him. He then tells me to sit down and then puts the piece of paper in front of me. The paper is an actual itemized list. He tells me that for the last month and a half, I haven't done any of my chores and that he's calculated, based on the roughly 4 to 5 hours a weekend of time I've wasted for him that amounts to his pay, which was $25 an hour. He's a registered nurse. So he's taken 4 hours times 6 weekends times 25 per hour pay and figured that I need to pay him $600 for time wasted. Then he's also, for good measure, throwing in an extra $100 for the 2 times he's asked me for $50 to help out towards groceries. He gets up and walks over and says there's a dotted line for me to sign stating I will pay all of this back in 1 month's time. I'm adding it all up in my head and tell him I barely have $1,000 after taxes a month. He says I should have thought about that before I brought a girl home at 2:30 in the morning. He tells me if I don't sign this paperwork, I have 30 minutes to get my crap and get the heck out. I legit almost start bawling and tell him that I want to sign the paper, but could I at least have a month extension? He puts his hand to his chin, thinking, and then looks down at me and agrees. He says, "You have 2 months to pay me $600. Oh, and by the way," he purposely hangs this in the air for a good 20 seconds. "If you don't pay, and you continue to break my 3 simple rules, there will be pain in your future." He revises the contract he's wrote up on the paper, and I sign it. So a month and a half goes by, and I've managed to pay him $450. I haven't seen Roxy as much over the 2 months because, for obvious reasons, her cash pit has dried up a bit. She then calls me on day 45 and tells me that she misses me. She wishes we would hang out, why I'm working so much overtime. I've told her that I have to pay my dad back or get kicked out. Of course, she ends up ending the call shortly after that, and then it happens. She texts me the next day about a show in another city. I hear all the usual. "Oh, it's a band I really like. I've been wanting to see them forever. Plus, I miss snuggling up to you at the concert." I somehow stupidly agree to go with her. Well, while we were up there, my wallet gets stolen out of my front pocket. To this day, I think Roxy did it, even though I've never been able to prove it. We go home, I drop Roxy off, and a few days go by. My dad comes knocking on my door as it's now officially day 55. He asks me, do I want to pay him the last $150 or wait till the 2 months are officially up? I tell him I got him and that I'll go to the bank right now, seeing as I just got paid the day before. I look around my room for my wallet. Nowhere to be found. I go find the jeans I wore at the concert I was at with Roxy. No wallet in there either. It's worth knowing I had and still have a terrible habit of leaving my wallet in my jeans after I take them off and forgetting that for several days. I start panicking as I cannot find my wallet anywhere. I check everywhere around the house, backyard, my car. I even call the last place I was at, work, and see if they might have it. No one's seen my wallet. I go back to my dad, who's in the backyard cutting the grass, and tell him what's going on. He gives me a half grin and says, "Sorry for your situation, but I'm treating you like a tenant now. Go to the bank, get my money, and when you come back, pay me the $150. We'll go from there." I haul off to the bank, and my heart about falls out of my chest as the teller tells me my account has a balance of $3.42. My heart drops to the ground. Worth noting here, it was a local bank that I've banked with since I was around 13. I was 18 at the time, so they all knew me at the bank and with some quick verification gave me info on my account. I head back home and tell my dad what happened. He puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "Ah, that sucks. Well, you know I'm going to have to get my $150 still, right?" I tell him there's no way to have the money to him in 5 days or less. He says, "Okay, well how about I drive you to work, seeing as you don't have a driver's license right now." He drives me to work, to which I'm there for roughly 8 hours. The revenge. While at work, my dad pulled out his massive collection of craftsman tools and proceeds to drain all the fluids in my car. He gets a buddy to come over and help completely remove my motor, my transmission, and my tires. My dad and his buddy, being a master mechanic, managed to do all of this in an 8-hour shift of me being at work. At the end of my 8-hour shift, my dad is in the parking lot waiting for me. He's in his work overalls, which I find funny, and he's got grease all over his arms. He drives me home, and I notice my car is pulled into the garage and on jack stands. I look at my dad and ask, "What's up with my car?" He points to the garage. "Oh, go ahead and see. I've got my $150 today." I jump out of the car as it goes into park and run over to my car. There's a note on the front of it from my dad's mechanic friend stating the motor, transmission, and tires have all been sold to him for $150 and that he'll happily not only give me back the items, but that he'll help me install them back into my car, but that I have to work for him on my 2 days off for the next 4 weeks from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I fall over crying, obviously, and after my dad laughs a bit, tells me my first shift starts tomorrow. It is further worth noting that my dad actually owned this vehicle and it was titled, tagged, and licensed in his name, so technically he could do whatever he wants with it. He had just chosen to allow me to use the vehicle as mine. I would spend the next 4 weeks working with my dad's mechanic friend on my days off. After 2 days of working, we'd bring a few pieces of my car back to the house and he'd teach me how to put these items back together. I slowly but surely learned how to be my very own mini do-it-yourself garage mechanic. This may not fit here, and my dad did pro-revenge me because shortly after I lost my car, Roxy dumped me. And all of the things my dad took 6 months out of my life to teach me how to be a somewhat responsible adult. Oh, and the icing on the cake. Soon as we had my car back together and running, my dad walked up to me and gave me an envelope with $450 in it and a note that said, "Stop being a knucklehead." Edit. My dad could be tough at times, but he's always been fair. Nothing, and I repeat, nothing he ever did was unwarranted. I was for a time living rent-free as an adult, and all he asked was for me to help clean the bathrooms, vacuum the rooms with carpets, not bring girls or friends home all hours of the night, and help out with groceries every once in a while. As an adult, I honestly deserved way worse than what I got. Heck, the adult 37-year-old me would have kicked my 18-year-old self out and said, "Get out of my house, you ungrateful jerk." The Hot Sauce Doughnut Revenge. This is a little short story from 2 years ago when my aunt still lived with me and my mom. Now, my aunt would constantly take food that I specifically bought for myself or for my mom out of the fridge. Thing is, I told her that it was for me and my mom, and I'd make notes for her and put them on the containers or packaging the food was in. Her excuse was, "It's just food. If you have money to buy that food, you have money to buy more." At the time, I was a waiter at a sushi restaurant. It was a good paying job with great staff and boss, but I didn't have money to spend like it's going out of style. After I got enough money saved up, I bought mini fridges for me and my mom because she was having the same problem with my aunt. The disappearing food stopped after that. For a week. before my aunt started going into me and my mom's room. After another week of dealing with her crap, I got an idea. I went to the Tim Hortons after I was done working for the day and bought a dozen raspberry-filled donuts as well as 2 large bottles of this super spicy hot sauce, brought them home, and proceeded to eat all of the raspberry filling out of them. Then I filled them to the brim with the hot sauce. I then put them back in the box and put them in my mini fridge. The next day, when I came home from work, to my aunt drinking a 4-liter jug of milk, when she saw me, she was livid. She started screaming at me and threw the box of donuts at me. I looked at all of the donuts on the floor, and one of them had a big bite taken out of it. When I saw that, I started laughing my butt off. Then my mom came downstairs. She asked what was going on, and I explained to her about the hot sauce. Then she started laughing with me. My aunt yelled at me, "How can you do this to your family?" I said, "I told you not to eat the food I bought, and you wouldn't listen. Then you go into our rooms and eat our food after we told you not to? So I taught you a lesson not to take without asking." My aunt stormed off and didn't talk to me for a week, which I didn't mind at all. And let's just say, she never took food from our mini fridges again. Entitled girlfriend wanted something shiny for her birthday. This was 15 years ago. Back then, I was dating a girl who turned out to be much more than she let on at first. I had been dating this girl for 5 months and things were going great. We hung out a lot, and I got to say, I really enjoyed her company. She wasn't just a girlfriend, she was someone I really liked chilling with. Her birthday was coming up, and I really wanted to do something awesome for her. She had told me a couple of times how much she wanted to go to a hockey game at the Bell Center to see a Montreal Canadiens game. I figured this was the best opportunity to see that she finally gets to go. After asking around, I was able to get tickets to see the Montreal Canadiens play against the visiting Pittsburgh Penguins. At that time, 2 of their most famous players were on the team, so not only would she get to see a Canadiens game, she would also get to see 2 of the most famous players at the time live. The day of her birthday comes, so we go out for dinner. After dessert, I hand her an envelope with a thoughtful greeting card I knew she would like, along with the game tickets. She rips the envelope open, not even reading the greeting card, holds up the hockey tickets, and disappointedly asks, "What's this?" I then explained to her how she's always wanted to go see a hockey game and how the Pittsburgh Penguins would be the visiting team and how I got some really good seats a few rows up behind the players' bench, how I spared no expense. She was not impressed in the slightest. "I appreciate the thought, but this is the kind of gift I would expect to get any other day. This is my birthday. I expected something shiny." I paused for a moment because I honestly thought she was trolling me or just wanted to make me sweat for a second. But no, she was dead serious. She shoved the tickets into her purse and then told me that she would give me a chance to make it up to her. You're probably thinking that she was right to be disappointed because hey, hockey tickets, right? Well, truth be told, in Montreal, a night at a Canadiens hockey game is by no means a cheap date. The tickets themselves went for $350 for the pair. Montreal loves its hockey team, and tickets are hard to come by. This drives up the price. Not to mention, these were great seats. The cost of parking is astronomical. Not to mention the cost of anything from the concessions is a pure rip. I kid you not. 4 hot dogs, 2 fries, and 2 Cokes goes for like $50 Canadian. So adding it all up, it's a very expensive night of about $450 to $500. From then, the relationship took a hard left turn. Her attitude changed. She wasn't the same person anymore. I was truly turned away by her lack of appreciation of the gift, and truly, I started giving less and less of a crap. I broke it off with her, and I was upset that it was over. Up until the birthday fiasco, things were amazing, and I truly believed she would be the one. 2 weeks go by, I get a call from her mother. It seems that she liked me from the couple of times she and I met. She seemed to be genuinely concerned about how things went bad between her daughter and I, so we talked for a bit. This is how I got to understand where my ex-girlfriend's sense of entitlement came from. She asked me if I was doing okay. I replied honestly that I was upset and hurt that things turned bad and how I was happy until things changed. I expressed my disappointment at her reaction towards the gift. She asked whether I would go back with her if things would be as they were in the beginning, to which I said yes. "If you want her back, you need to show how much you love her. Get her a ring. She will take you back if you do that." I felt as if I had suddenly sobered up from a night of partying. Instant clarity. I conjured up all my willpower to keep myself from telling her to forget herself and to take her daughter with her. I simply replied with, "Thank you for wanting to help me with this. I have a lot to think about. I will surely be speaking to you soon." I ended the call. It took me a few days to let all that anger boil away. Insane Karen at my sushi restaurant. For context, I work at a sushi restaurant. We don't get a lot of entitled people, but we do get a couple every now and again, and I have a good handful of stories. This happened 2 years ago, a couple weeks after I went from a dishwasher to a waiter. Cast: we've got me, nice dad, nice son, Karen, and the manager. So it was around 8 p.m. when nice dad, nice son, and Karen walked in, confirmed their reservation, and sat down. I came over, and as they were looking at the menu, me: "Hello, my name is Me. I'll be your waiter today. Would you like me to get your drinks first?" They all ordered Coke. Me: "Would you like me to bring glasses to pour your drinks into?" Karen: "No, you don't use glasses to drink soda." To nice dad: "What a stupid question." And just from that one sentence, I could tell she was going to give me a rough night. Me: "I'm sorry for asking. I'll get your drinks now." I was about to walk away when nice dad spoke up. "Actually, I'll have a glass." Nice son said he wanted a glass as well. Karen looked angry when they said they wanted glasses. So after 10 minutes, I went to go take another table's drink order. I came back with the drinks and glasses. As I gave them their stuff, Karen was just complaining to nice dad about how long it took for me to get their drinks. Me to Karen: "I'm sorry, but I went to go take another table's order." "Well, you're supposed to be our waiter. You shouldn't be waiting on other tables." I then explained to her that I'm not just their waiter, and I'm allowed to wait on as many tables as I want. Me: "Now, before you all order, do any of you have any allergies I should know of?" Nice dad said he didn't have any, but said his son had peanut allergies, and Karen said she had allergies to seafood and fish. Not sure why she would come to a sushi place when she's allergic to seafood and fish, but I shouldn't judge. I asked them what they wanted to order. Nice dad had a viper roll, eel roll, and the sashimi platter for him and nice son. Nice son had a California roll, and Karen had a caterpillar roll, California roll topped with avocado. Me to Karen: "Since you're allergic to seafood, I'll make sure they use imitation crab meat for your roll." "Fine, whatever." I walked over to the kitchen, told them the allergies and orders, then went to go wait on the other table. I glanced over at Karen and she looked angry at me. After 15 minutes, most of their food was ready. I brought it to them, and nice dad asked me where the sashimi platter was. I told him that it would be a few more minutes and apologized for the inconvenience. I went back to the kitchen and got the other table's order, then got their sashimi platter. I walked over and was giving them the platter when Karen said this: "Well, finally, I can't wait to try some sashimi." I quickly pulled the platter away. "Ma'am, you said you were allergic to seafood and fish." "So? You said you would use imitation fish." "Yeah, I said that, but I said I would make sure they'd use imitation crab meat for your sushi roll. Everything else is real fish because they aren't allergic." She began to scream at me for trying to poison me, as nice dad tried to tell her to shut up, and nice son was silently sitting there. We had everyone's attention. After a couple minutes, she says a Karen's catchphrase: "I want to speak to your manager." After she said that, my manager walked out because another waiter got him. She then began screaming at him about how I was starving them, how I tried to poison her, and was spewing offensive names towards me that I will not write down. The manager looked at me and simply said, "So, what actually happened here?" I told him that when I brought them the sashimi platter, Karen said she was going to eat some, even though she said she was allergic to seafood and fish, and when I wouldn't let her, she started screaming at me. I even showed him the receipt, and at the bottom it says, "Customers are allergic to seafood, fish, and peanuts." Manager just stood there silently until I finished talking, then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." To nice dad: "You can stay since you haven't done anything wrong." "He's lying." Manager: "We have cameras. Do I have to look at the footage?" "Fine, come on, let's just leave. We don't need this crappy restaurant or their crappy food." Nice dad just looked at her with an angry stare. Nice dad: "Go wait in the car. We're staying and finishing dinner." Karen began screaming at nice dad, and manager threatens to call the police. Luckily, the police didn't need to be called because she left without any more problems. I finally gave them the sashimi platter, and nice dad apologized to me for what Karen did. When I got the bill, I got a huge tip from nice dad. The next day, when we came into work, manager told us that Karen was banned from the restaurant, and if we saw her inside the restaurant, to get him, and he would call the police for trespassing. She hasn't been back since. I still work there, but she is still the dumbest customer I've ever dealt with over the past 4 years I've worked there. I have some more stories about the Karens that come into the restaurant, and I'll upload them in a bit. Speaking of sushi, do you like sushi or no? Please let me know. And shoutouts to our Re-Generals of the day, King Juggernaut, Sergeant Mason, and Fire Ice. Become tomorrow's Re-Generals by leaving as many Re's as you can in the comments below, and please listen to my playlist every night when you go to sleep.